We'll reevaluate on Wednesday.
There's a Nickelback movie coming out.
Oh, hell yeah, brother.
It's called Hate to Love.
Dude, that's just the duality of man is the Bob Marley movie, just followed by the Nickelback movie.
That would be a crazy double feature. Do you think they'd open with a Photograph? What do you think the opening song for the Nickelback movie is?
I don't know. Do you think they open up with like Rockstar and it's kind of like them living their Rockstar life, and then they like flash back to like the beginning of the band and everything?
It could be. I could see that.
Did you work on the movie? This is insider information.
Mason actually made the movie. He's like, yeah.
What if you go and you just see like executive produced by Mason Kling?
Yeah.
I'd laugh my ass off, man.
First down, goes to the sidelines, has a man wide
those moments, it reminds me of last year in the Garden against St. John. And guys just stepped up. Blake hits a what the hell 3. You know, we're like, what are you doing? And he's done that all year.
Klicka out to Bizzario. It's over. The Pitt Panthers have upset Wisconsin. Anybody if he hits his field goal. Up and got it. Sauls does it again.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Simplify Podcast. I'm your host, Zach Kaminsky. I'm joined by my two co-hosts, as always, Mason Kling, Kent Vanderwood. And boys, it's officially the off season. Kent, how are we doing?
We're angry. We're angry tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be a I'm not mad, I'm disappointed episode from me. I'm going passive aggressive parent on the entire committee this week.
Well, you know what? I'll say it. I'm mad. It really does hurt me to say it, but Pittsburgh, our Pitt Panthers, the defenders of the Pete, finished the season 9-3 because apparently games played after December 30th don't matter. Sorry, not December 30th. Once the non-con is done, the games don't matter. So we finished 9-3. It was hard to go up against these 20-win teams on the bubble, but, we were unfortunately pushed off because our out-of-conference schedule was just so bad, and don't look at TCU's.
Yeah, and Lunardi's a prick. He won't let that non-conference strength of schedule stuff go. Fucking bozo. That's all.
Unless you're TCU and you lost 9 of your last 12 games in the regular season. Let me just do the math right here.
And had a horrible non-con. Yeah.
Worse than us, which is saying something. Yeah, I don't know. Fuck TCU. I decided to concentrate all my anger on them. I don't know. Where do we want to start? Do we want to recap the games? Do you want to talk about the UNC game?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so Pitt ends up losing to UNC in the tournament semifinals. This final score, 72-65, is a little bit – it's not as close as the game really was the whole time. This was a 2 to 4 point game until the final 2 minutes where UNC just kind of stepped on our throats, hit some free throws to put it out of reach. Pitt played with a 1 seed the entire time. They were playing against a 1 seed and the referees. The calls in this game were horrendously one-sided, but what do you expect from ACC referees? And it showed how good this team can be. And I'll just keep thinking about it forever that we missed a bunch of layups and Blake Hinson probably had his worst game of the season. And there are a lot of alternate universes where Pitt wins that game. We're probably in the tournament.
Yeah, it was tough to watch Blake that game. He, I think, ended up only with 1 made field goal. Not like him, obviously. So when your best player has a game like that, and you're still in it, it's tough to swallow a loss.
Especially when that is the last game we're going to see from Blake Hinson now in a Pittsburgh uniform. Makes it an even tougher performance to be the way he goes out. He deserved better than that. Not saying it's his fault. It's just the way it kind of happened.
Yeah, he has been such an awesome player for 2 years, and it feels wrong that it's now over for really reasons out of his control. And I guess we'll kind of start with the bid thieves, right? Pretty much for any team except the first 4 out, which Pitt was one of. This was one of the most fun weekends of conference tournament play you could have watched because there were 5 bid thieves, right? First off, in the ACC, NC State wins 5 straight games to claim that title, taking a spot away. By the way, that's more games than the Washington Wizards have won on that court all season. They've won 4.
Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So first off, it was NC State. Then in the Pac-12, the Oregon Ducks ended up winning that league over Colorado. So that took another bid off the table. Then the AAC, FAU loses, giving the bid to UAB. FAU loses to Temple, by the way, who was recently investigated for point shaving, which is a dreadful loss. FAU, by the way, is an 8 or 9. Are they a 9 seed?
Yeah, talk about another team that probably shouldn't even made the tournament. All right, that's a little excessive, but FAU had some really, really bad losses. I'm not surprised they lost to Temple because they've been losing to bad teams all year.
I think they have 2 quad 4 losses and somehow got a 9 seed, which is disgusting. Similarly in the A10, Dayton lost in semifinals. Duquesne, got to give it to Duquesne. First tournament since 1977. You guys are still bid thieves.
Yeah. Did you really have to do it this year?
You have to do it this year. Couldn't have waited one more. Oh, did you see the stuff that surfaced again today about Duquesne's coach, who's retiring after this tournament run, got fired from Central Michigan for this? It goes, he asked his players to use the N-word in a pregame pump-up speech and then got fired for it.
I did not.
You guys didn't see that?
No.
Isn't he also LeBron's high school coach?
Was it Mike
This guy's got a crazy story.
Yeah, I was going to say if he actually was LeBron, that we need a documentary about this guy. What the hell?
I did not hear that story about him, but yeah, the LeBron high school coach definitely heard.
Yes, he was LeBron's high school coach. You can read this off the Wikipedia. He has an entire section dedicated to Central Michigan University. Okay, so he coaches them for 2 seasons, and he goes, before a game against Miami University, he asked players if he could use a controversial word, in parentheses, the N-word, which it's very funny that the N-word is a blue link on Wikipedia. In addressing the team before the game, the team agreed to him saying the N-word, but he was still fired. And then he sued the university for a wrongful discrimination lawsuit, and all 11 black players on the team joined him in the suit. He lost it, and he was still fired.
That's crazy.
And then after that, he coached LeBron.
Oh, after that. Oh, so he coached at Central Michigan before he coached LeBron.
Yeah, he coached Central Michigan in the 90s.
Huh. Wow, what a path.
What a path.
Crazy. Very, very long digression there. Am I missing any of the other bid thieves? I think there was one more I was missing.
Well, while we're on wild coach story talk, did you see? I'm blanking on what school it is right now. I think it might have been Long Beach State, where their coach and the team had a mutual parting of ways. They're like, all right, we're after this tournament, we're done, and then they just went and won it. So now they get to go to the they get to go to the NCAA tournament, and who knows what happened to that guy's career now? But that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, getting fired and then just with the expectation of just losing and early on in your conference tournament and then winning the whole thing is a crazy story.
Yeah.
Oh, the last one was New Mexico. That's the one I was missing in the Mountain West.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a lot of big Steelers this year. I think there were, you said there was 5 this year. I think I saw there was 2 combined in the last 3 seasons. And 5 this year, which is of course great for us.
Yeah, because as we learned in the selection show, like the only silver lining here is that the tournament, the selection committee did think higher of Pitt than pretty much any bracketologist out there, right? A lot of bracketologists, some had us like last 4 in, most of them had us either first 4 or next 4 out. Per the selection committee's whatever show they do because they want to have TV time where they get to talk bullshit. Pitt was the 4th team out, right? They were the 4th of 4, along with Oklahoma, Seton Hall, and Indiana State. So it does suck to think about, but Saturday morning, technically, Pitt was in the tournament, or I guess Friday night, really, and then all of a sudden, 5 bids disappeared out of nowhere. So,
yeah, I think that's kind of like what makes it really the UNC game hurt even more, because I think any other year, like we probably did enough to we weren't quite sure if the UNC win was going to do enough. I think if things go down differently with a lot of those other teams, we did.
yeah.
So
one thing I was happy the committee got right was St. John's was not in the first 4 out and not in the field.
Mm-hmm.
So Lunardi, who really wanted St. John's to be in no matter what, they weren't close. So thank God.
That was one team they got right, but boy, did they get some other teams wrong. I'm going to let Kent, you go first. Who's the team you want to tee off on?
Virginia.
I knew it was coming. Go ahead.
Dude. What? Like, why? I don't understand. Virginia didn't deserve a bid over us or probably either of the 3 other teams in the first 4 out. But obviously, this is a Pitt podcast. I wanted Pitt in. Pitt should have had Virginia's spot. Finished with a higher net ranking. Finished with, not to mention, a double-digit win over Virginia head-to-head in their arena. Higher Ken Palm ranking as well, if I'm not mistaken. Just better metrics all around. Virginia scores maybe 40 points a game on average. Nobody wants to watch them in the tournament. Pitt has an exciting offense. Pitt's been playing very well. Virginia has been playing horribly. Disgusting. I hope they get blown out.
It's like, okay, so probably one of the bigger reasons they had Virginia in as opposed to us would be non-conference games, is what I'm assuming, right?
Probably.
What is their, who do they even play in their non-conference schedule? Like how can it be that different that they get a bid when we beat them head to head in their place? Like all those things you listed, Ken, everything points towards Pitt. I'm trying to find the make it make sense.
They beat Florida by 3 in their second game of the year, or third game of the year. Sorry. They beat West Virginia by less than we beat them, also on West Virginia's home court, and they beat A&M, who was, I don't know if their 9 seed is troubling me still, but
A&M finished the season hot, or at least just tournament wise.
Yeah, but Virginia also got crushed by Wisconsin, who just fell apart down the stretch.
Yeah. I mean, it's just annoying when you have a team that, you may be playing better in November, but you certainly weren't playing better than us the last 2 months of the season. And we have a head-to-head win. I know that that's kind of a big point of our talking point, overall on this pod is, basically, like, why even play the rest of the season if all that matters is your non-con the first month or so in the season? Once Jalen Lowe got put into the Pitt starting lineup, they were a completely different team. They finished the season out going, I guess, 12-4 after they started 1-5 in the ACC after the UNC loss.
13-4, I think.
Okay. Yeah, 13-4. Yeah, it's like, would you rather watch Pitt with Blake Hinson, or would you rather watch Virginia struggle to score 45 points?
They needed overtime to beat Boston College, and they still didn't score 70 points in overtime. I guess we'll talk about it now because we'll probably come back to this point. Just want to make this clear now. The importance that the committee is placing on non-con strength schedule is absurd because at this point, the way they've put so much emphasis on it, and they obviously don't even fucking apply it evenly, seeing that TCU is a goddamn 9 seed. But if for some reason the metrics don't like your conference, or for some reason they say the ACC is having a down year, all of a sudden, like, the non-con takes up a third of your schedule early in the year when most teams are still figuring it out, overpowers 20 games of your in-season schedule, which is the bulk of a team's resume. And I've said this so many times on the podcast, but how about all these metrics basically just flatten your season to where it almost looks like it happened on a single day, and everything you did happened in a single day. There's no context with any of these, fucking numbers they throw out. And I get they use it, and I get like it does serve a purpose, but I think that it sounds stupid to say, but the eye test is being lost when you're putting out all these metrics and like non-conference strength of schedule. Like, anyone with a fucking functioning brain can tell you that the Pitt team in 2024 is better than the team that played in 2023.
Yeah, I would honestly agree with that too. Obviously, the only advantage we had over ourselves last year was having those fifth-year senior guys. But yeah, I would agree. The way that we were playing toward the end of our regular season this year was better.
Sorry, not last season. I'm talking about the games in 2023 this year.
Got it.
As opposed to like 2 parts of the season.
Got it. Reboot. Cut that out. You completely agree. Completely different team. Started out obviously 1-5 in the ACC. Capel really, got some stuff figured out. Kind of had to play around. Obviously, a young team in general, outside of Blake Hinson. It had a lot of young guys playing a lot of minutes, so you got to kind of figure out how to work those pieces together, how they fit well together, what roles they need to sort of play. Figured it out a little bit too late for the committee's liking.
Yeah, we'll circle back to like a kind of review of the season, talking about Capel later. Mason, who's the team you want to pick on?
It's tough because I think looking at Virginia, they're the most obvious, and because of what we talked about earlier with all the bid thieves, it's tough to look at a lot of these teams and like Oregon. I don't think Oregon's a more deserving team, but they had to go and win the Pac-12 because it's a dookie fucking conference. So I guess I'm mad at Oregon. Oregon and Colorado are the ones that make me the most mad, because I don't think really the Pac-12 is technically a Power 5. They're going to have 3 bids, but I don't think anybody other than Arizona in that conference really deserves to be coming out of there.
I like Washington State.
I did forget about Washington State. But yeah, I don't know, man. Colorado hasn't really done anything fun all year. The Mountain West schools are tough too, but
I will say the committee, for all the love that the Mountain West got in a lot of brackets, like in the season, the Mountain West really got cut out of the tournament writ large. They got, I think, less bids than everyone expected them to get.
They ended up with 6, I think. Mountain West.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Some people called it like an 8-bid league at certain points.
Big East got 3. Mountain West got 6. ACC gets 5, and you don't get the team that finished 4th and made it to the ACC semifinals. A little bit tough to swallow there. Clemson solidly in as a 6 seed with their sort of resume. When we can't even get in is also a little bit tough to swallow. Obviously, they beat us head to head twice. I'm not in any way saying Clemson shouldn't have been in the tournament. But outside of beating us head to head, their resume was not that much substantially better than ours. Wins at UNC and a win at Alabama. Solid wins there. Pitt obviously has had the wins at Cameron Indoor and at Virginia to snap Virginia's 23-game home winning streak. People may forget that. So a couple signature road wins for us as well. Like close head-to-head matchups, like very evenly matched teams. And that's a 6 seed, and we can't even get in. We finished ahead of them in the ACC. Like it's a little tough.
The Clemson one, I think, is the one I have the hardest time arguing because we did go 0-2 against them, and the Bama road win is like really big because the amount of emphasis they put on that out of conference schedule. Like I don't agree with it, but at least with what they have shown and what they value in your resume, at least Clemson makes sense. I have a team that I really don't think should have ever been in consideration, and I think it's only because of their head coach's name recognition. That's Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Michigan State's non-con includes a loss to Duke, a loss to James Madison, a loss to Arizona, and a loss to Indiana State. Their one thing they did in the non-con is they beat Baylor, and then they went to hibernation for 3 months. They said, all right, we beat them. We'll see you in fucking March. I had a buddy call them Metric State University, which I can't agree more. They got their one win, and they coasted on it all the way to March. And Michigan State is the epitome of a team that does one thing to like kind of rig their rankings and shit, and then just coast on it. It's smart. They schedule very hard on the out of conference, but they got one of those games.
Yeah,
they're consistently bad against tournament level teams.
Yeah, that's disgusting. That was going to be one that I named as well. I have a handful in mind, but that was certainly one of them. I think they finished with 17 wins.
They finished with.
Oh, that must mean the Big Ten is really, really, really good, right?
Yeah, 17 regular season wins.
17 wins.
16, sorry.
16, you said?
Yeah, they finished 16 and I don't know if this counts postseason. They either finished with 19 or 18.
Regardless, not the best record, especially you give them a 9 seed.
No, they got a 10. They got a 10.
No, they're a 9.
They're 9.
That's absurd.
So
they're a 9. They play Mississippi State.
I confused them with Colorado State. 2 green teams. My bad.
Yeah.
I think Michigan State and Virginia both benefited from the head coach game a little bit, and just I guess debating whether those schools are blue bloods or not is probably a whole different topic for a whole nother pod. But just like there's some bias in the college football playoff, there's probably a little bit of blue blood bias here in the tournament as well.
That made me. I had a thought earlier today that I realized, like, for all the shit that like I think about how bad the college football playoff committee sucks, I think because Pitt basketball was like so terribly bad and I didn't have to think about like them being on the bubble for so long, I forgot like how stupid this fucking committee is. Like, ugh.
Yeah.
They even have the benefit of the automatic bids a lot of times. Like, could you imagine if they had to go to the Missouri Valley Conference and be like, oh man, Indiana State, they looked better all year, but Drake looked better in the conference championship game. Like their heads would fucking explode. Like they basically have half the work done for them, and they still find a way to fuck it up.
Yeah, because like the committee, they're full of like ads, and like ads have full-time jobs outside this shit. They get fucking paid to talk to boosters and run an athletic program. Of course, they're not going to give all their fucking time and effort to this tournament selection because it's a side gig for them. They don't care about the sport. They're just like, oh, cool, my name gets to be here.
Yeah. Jalen Lowe said it best with a tweet right after Pitt didn't make the tournament. A lot of y'all don't actually watch basketball. I think that's true with a lot of people kind of making a lot of these decisions. I'm sure they watch some, but they don't watch enough to necessarily choose between some of these bubble teams effectively. And it's pretty evident. I think, Pitt had a lot of enemies in the media. Obviously, this week, Lunardi, we can kind of get to that specific tweet that really upset a lot of people right before the selection Sunday broadcast came on. But we had some allies as well. Jay Billis had been super vocal, even before the tournament was revealed, before the field was revealed, in support of us making the tournament, and then afterwards really came out with a segment on ESPN as well.
If you can get Jay Billis to say nice things about Pitt, that's how you know that shit's true. Because we had just had a pod a couple weeks ago ripping him about court storming stuff. So I think he's a pretty good voice of reason when it comes to knowing ball. He might not know court storming, but I think he watches probably a lot of more games than anybody. So
yeah, he basically came out with he tweeted the video of himself talking on ESPN after we didn't get in the tournament, basically explaining why his disgust with us not making the tournament, and basically saying that it doesn't make sense that we didn't make the tournament, and there's not a good explanation out there why we wouldn't. So shout out Jay Billis.
I don't even think they took any questions about Pittsburgh being out on the selection show, which sucks. We were just a graphic. Kent, do you want to talk about the Lunardi tweet?
Yeah, let me pull this up word for word because I freaking hate this guy.
Yeah, we need a direct
quote. It was in a storm about an hour before Selection Sunday came on TV because of this bozo's tweet. Obviously, Pitt fans have kind of been fighting him all year, kind of basically accusing him of bias against us. He had clearly something personal against us that he was not explicitly saying. But yeah, as an employee of ESPN, this tweet is unbelievable. Pitt basketball just tweets their resume. A lot of metrics that they would, a lot of teams do this, not just Pitt, but basically tweeting out their resume, why they feel they deserve to get in with some tweets, from high profile accounts around college basketball in support of them making the tournament. And in no way, shape, or form is Joe Lunardi tagged in this. Nobody's really coming at him in the comments, anything like that. He quote tweets it and says, "The line with the 343 non-conference strength of schedule must have gotten cut off on my screen."
It's so unprofessional, man.
Dude, that's the thing. He's not like a Barstool guy who's like making a joke. He's like
really an ESPN, like very visible face employee. Like,
yeah, he's not us. He's not three dipshits who record a podcast every other week. He's a guy who's on TV, and like this Pitt hate has gone back to like last year. I don't know what it is. Like, where the fuck did Joe Lunardi go to school? If it's Syracuse, I'm gonna scream.
But also,
because of that.
The funny thing is, it actually does even say one significant flaw on it: the 343 non-conference strength of schedule in one of the tweets that they included on the graphic. So he's really just a dumbass.
A petty dumbass.
He really just wanted to be a dickhead. Like he was clearly picking a fight with that tweet. Like he had to have known the sort of response I was going to get, the firestorm I was going to create, and he wanted it. But it comes back to the point too, where it's like, bro, like if that's your only argument against this team, you keep going back to it. TCU, meanwhile, you have safely in the field with a worse strength of schedule out of conference. Like, it's not consistent.
No.
The vindictiveness of the tweet, Kent, actually makes me think there's a non-zero chance that he saw that tweet that you posted of him and the St. John's thing.
Yeah, actually, also, I was like, what if Simplify's tweet triggered that tweet?
It's not a high percentage, but it's definitely not a 0% chance.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, Zach tweets 99% of the tweets coming from the pod account. I
It's true.
pick up the slack and occasionally get on my BS on that account as well. So the tweet that kind of went viral over the weekend from the Simplify account with the picture of Lunardi on the TV that makes him look ugly, with close to 400 likes, I think now that came from me. So yeah, maybe Lunardi saw that tweet, took big offense, and decided to take action.
Yeah, right now that tweet's at 394 likes. If we get that to 400 from our boy Kent, I appreciate it. Need all of our loyal listeners to go drop a like, get that over 400. It'll make his day. It's his first banger tweet. The kid needs it. I'm looking now. We have some very well behaved fans. No one tagged him in the comments. He had to, this must have come across his For You page.
Yeah, we
live.
really,
Which I think would be
we're
hilarious.
Pitt lives rent free in Joe Lunardi's head.
At this point,
we
he went to.
yeah, it was also geeky me. Like, people, there were some of the replies that were coming in. Like, oh, is this?
They thought it was real.
I said no, but the fact that's even a question says something. Yeah, dude, it's just unbelievable.
I'm thinking here it might be because Joe Lunardi is a Philly guy. He went to St. Joe's. He was born in Philly, went to St. Joe's Prep, and then went to St. Joe's, Pennsylvania. And then he also lives outside of Philly. He might just hate that side of the state. He might just be he might want to burn a Sheets if he ever looks at one. I'm just trying to spitball some ideas here. I don't know. He probably hates the Steelers.
I mean, yeah, it's more.
Let me be the first to say, though, you can be both a Philly guy and a Pittsburgh guy, Joe. You don't have to. I don't know who hurt you from the western side of Pennsylvania, but it's okay.
The combination Penn State Eagles fans are not going to like that one, Mason.
That's all right.
All right. Hey, speaking of the Eagles, Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mason, how are we feeling?
It's one of those where it's like kind of tough to be hype about because I would like him. Yeah, I would like him to not play at all. Bringing him in designed to be a backup. But I mean, he's going to look pretty damn good in that Kelly Green. I'll tell you what. And that might have to be a pickup of a jersey.
The throwback Eagles Kenny Pickett jersey might be a DH gate this offseason. I think that's a very good day drinking jersey, if I say so myself.
As someone who loves football and Kenny Pickett and also hates the Steelers, I loved this move. So I will gladly root for him in the Kelly Green.
Let's go, Kent. Who would have thought it just all it would take was Kenny Pickett coming home to get the boy and get him in Kelly Green.
Yes, sir. Also, Patrick Queen, you're dead to me. You're dead to us.
All right. Before we go too far into NFL talk, NIT. Let's talk about it. If you saw the pro NIT tweet, that was from me. Behind the scenes, Kent was against going the NIT. Ends up the Pitt declined the NIT invitation. And while I would have liked to see this team play more, well, I'd like to see Blake Hinton play a Pitt uniform again, I'm starting to understand why they chose not to take that NIT bid. it's both a player's and coach's decision. The players probably felt a little deflated after not making the tournament. I get it. But two, this is an NCAA problem because the transfer portal opens today? It opened today? That's fucking stupid. You cannot have the transfer portal opening in the postseason, and this is an issue with football as well. But there's no reason for the transfer portal to be open when 68 teams are currently playing for something, and their coaches cannot go recruit the transfer portal. With how important it has become, especially in college basketball, to round out your roster, it's one of many factors, but it's one of the factors as to why all these teams are declining bids to the NIT. Pitt wasn't alone. St. John's declined a bid. I believe Oklahoma did as well. Indiana and Ole Miss.
Ole
And I'm
Miss
forgetting the
was one,
sixth
yeah.
team. I'm forgetting the sixth team, but a lot of teams said no, no, thank you to the NIT.
Yeah, and then did you see Tom Crean kind of went on a rant about all these teams declining in the NIT and how wrong it was? But meanwhile, there were screenshots circling today about Tom Crean when he was coaching in Indiana a few years ago also declined an NIT bid because they didn't want to disgrace the Indiana home court by playing an NIT game there.
Yeah, he said the same thing about the CBI too.
Yeah, such a hypocritical thing, just unbelievable. It was crazy hypocritical. But yeah, I was on the fence about whether I wanted Pitt to accept this bid or not. Yeah, kind of going back to what Zach said. Zach was tweeting from the pod the same time I was tweeting from the pod. We have very opposite kind of views. I was kind of on the fence. Zach was super against declining a bid. So we were texting behind the scenes, kind of seeing what our followers were saying, replying to a couple of tweets we had put out. Seemed like some of the followers definitely agreed with what Zach said, but we ended up declining. I could have seen it either way. It would be nice to watch Blake Hinson play some more basketball for Pitt. That is definitely the saddest part about this. But at the same time, if Capel and Heather and whoever else, kind of had a say in it, left it up to the team. It sounded like the team was in agreement on this based on kind of the statement they put out, that the team kind of decided that they didn't want to play. If that was the case, that's all good with me. If it was sort of, if the team wanted to play and Capel and Heather and, other leadership said no, I would have a bigger issue with it. I guess we won't necessarily know the answer to that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it would be kind of interesting to hear some player thoughts directly about this. But there's definitely some pros and some cons. Get some more games in the Pete, get the fans engaged, for a little bit longer. But as you mentioned, the transfer portal open. Kind of want to move on to next year. Keep everybody healthy. And yeah, I don't know.
I'm all for the pettiness that was declining the bid. I know we kind of talked earlier when we were talking about Pitt's chances, a couple pods ago at this point, of would you rather make the first round and then just get blown out, or make a deep NIT run? And I think the way we've all felt this past week has just gone to show that it was 100% just make the tournament. And especially losing out the way that we did, being in that first four, I wouldn't want to go play in the NIT. I mean, when you did everything that you possibly, obviously not everything, but when you've done everything that all the experts were saying you needed to do to make the tournament, and then things just didn't fall the right way, I don't know. I find it tough to get up for the NIT after that.
Maybe it would be different if they weren't the first four out, but I've come to kind of agree with it. And well, I think it would have been nice to get more postseason experience for Jalen and Bub, and having guys like Ish work with them more. Zach Austin's gonna be back. Guillermo, Fede. Overall, to risk an injury to one of your 4 or 5 star players is overall not worth it. And they're college kids. I'm not gonna chide them for being a little bummed out when they didn't get pretty much got snubbed from the tournament. Um, Obviously, it's a selfish thing. I would have liked to see them play, but overall, I get it. And with how the needs of this team look moving into next season, the transfer portal has to be the number one concern. Um, I was texting with our friend Brendan earlier today. As it stands right now, with Blake leaving and KJ Marshall, and then with the incoming guys, Pitt currently has one open scholarship. The question is, will Jeffries be here or not with Pitt next season? Personally, I think the two biggest needs, obviously with Blake gone, you need another. You'd like to kind of replace him with another guy who's a shooter from deep. Doesn't have to be Blake Hinson range, but a guy who's consistent from three. And then clearly, DJ Burns showed it in the ACC tournament. If you got a big guy down there that can rumble this team, first off, it works in the ACC. It works in a lot of other college basketball, context. Obviously, a lot of times this year when we didn't have the muscle down low, we got pretty badly burned for it. The number one priority should be a true five that can get Guillermo and Jorge back to the four and pretty much allow you to phase in Conte and kind of relegate Fede to I feel so bad and mean saying this, but relegating Fede to a bench role,
I
which
think
obviously
Fede would be a great 6-man. Or not really a 6-man, but you know what I mean. He would be a great to come in and get a couple minutes and do his thing for a little bit, but you're 100% right, Zach. We need somebody. A true five is essential this offseason.
Essential. I felt it was essential last season. Obviously, Papa Conte got injured. I don't know how different this season would have looked if he had played. But yeah, I think all Pitt fans are pretty much in agreement that is by far and away like the biggest priority of the offseason. Baycott also just completely took advantage of us in that ACC semifinal game. And you just simply need a guy with some more meat on his bones to be able to put in against guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was tough that we had to double Baycott, which I think put a lot of pressure on all of the guards to kind of contain everybody else. Because when we didn't double him, it was easy buckets for him, which was tough. And I think that's kind of what wore us down towards the end of the game. But somebody to go down there and no easy buckets inside the paint is definitely what we need.
Yeah, and I mean going as far as off the roster, right? I mean, it is what it is. But Conte was much more highly rated than Fede out of high school. Fede actually played at a JUCO before coming up to the Division I level. Conte also is the heaviest five listed on the roster. He's listed at 235. Baycott, for reference, is listed at 240. But overall, like, he's just the better player and probably would have given you more of a presence down low, even if Fede has an inch on him. But man, I would love for us to just get some big boy like was it DJ Burns is his name?
Yeah, he's fun to watch. He's fun to watch, and when you can play inside out and throw the ball in the post and then kick it back out, that's what really gets the offense moving.
And our friend Brendan said this too. Hughley was the prototype. He just happened to be on teams that didn't have the shooters on the outside, which is sort of another fork in the Pitt basketball history. Is that if Hughley's still on this team, they might win like 26, 27 games with a presence down low. Like, they might be an auto bid with Hughley.
Yeah. No, it's a good point as well. So that's the type of body that we need, though. You're exactly right. So you're not going to find another Blake Hinson in the portal. Blake Hinson is one of one. You're not going to find a guy that's going to hit 9+ threes multiple times a season. But yeah, I think second biggest need, as you mentioned, Zach, is trying to get some offensive production back that we're going to lose from losing Blake Hinson, a guy that is consistent from three.
Yeah, we need our version of Joe Girard.
I was gonna say we need our Joe Girard, and I mean the offensive production. I guess is you sort of lose less now, right? Because we didn't mention this, but after the UNC loss, both Jalen Lowe and Bub Carrington sort of they pretty much outwardly said they have all but confirmed with a graphic, as players do, that they're coming back next season. So if they're both coming back, they're both going to get better and more consistent. So the offensive fall off it's less bad than what it could be, right? But none of Bub, Jalen, Ish, or Zach are anywhere near as consistent as Blake is from three. If you can just get a consistent guy like Mason mentioned, Joe Girard, maybe Guillermo at the four. He's Guillermo and Jorge, even though they didn't play, they were playing out of position all year. Both of them were still insanely efficient from three. They had their cold spells, but so did Blake. Maybe you have faith in that moving forward. And with only one scholarship spot open at the moment, I think above all else, get a big man. If another one opens, then I say you look at bolstering the shooting. But the clear need is an inside factor with this team.
Yeah, that would the 3-point production would kind of be like cherry on top, I guess. If Jeffers is out of there, or you never know what kind of shakes out here at the end. But I will definitely sleep easier at night knowing that Jalen Lowe and Bub Carrington will be coming back next year. It'll be a new feeling to kind of walk into fall or winter next year knowing we have those two guys and a couple other pieces around them.
Yeah, I agree. You guys mentioned like somebody like Joe Girard, but if you have Joe Girard, I think of as more of just like a two. But when you have Carrington and Jalen Lowe both trying to be in your starting lineup, you trying to find a wing shooter that is a good shooter, sort of like Zach Austin was kind of supposed to be. Didn't shoot as well from three this year as we were kind of hoping based on the reports that we kind of got on him coming out of High Point. But that maybe sort of three role.
If you're describing the shooting four like Austin, essentially what you're describing is what Capel wants the Twins to be. And maybe the faith in them is just that, okay, if we have a legitimate five and they're playing in their more natural four role, maybe that's how it just shakes out.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty viable option to say, now that you don't have to try and out-muscle Armando Bacot down low, you can sort of prowl on the edges and shoot from three. And it's funny to say, but those two lanky motherfuckers, I love them, have some of the best driving moves on this team outside of like the guards, obviously, but like that spin move that Guillermo put on Bacot at the end of the first half in the UNC game, that was beautiful shit. If he was playing the four, he could do that so much more often than try and get a ball down low and then get tackled by Armando Bacot because the refs don't care when you're playing UNC.
Yeah, shout out Guillermo. He had a great game. Bub Carrington obviously had a huge game. Bub Carrington kept us in this game against UNC with Blake not shooting very well. If we can, like a year older, I think Bub and Jalen Lowe will be better next year. If they can work on just getting a more consistent shot in the offseason, they're going to be a dangerous combo. So.
By the way, before I forget, shout out to Ish Leggett in the quarterfinals against Wake Forest, going for 30, 15, and 5, which is the first time that someone's done that in the ACC tournament since 1992. Shout out to the ESPN ticker at the gym for telling me that. Didn't have to do any research on that one. But he had a huge game to even get us to this point, and I'm very glad that he'll be back again next year. He struggled early, but he really found himself in that 6-man role, like you said. Once Jalen gets inserted into the starting role, and it's just like Mason said, it's nice to have a lot of pieces coming back. For many off seasons, all of our pieces just either left, graduated early, Justin Champagny, or now there's at least some form of familiarity with the team, which you cannot say for I don't know the last decade.
I was going to say, when's the last time we were losing? What, we only know one player for sure right now. Who's the other? Hinson and who?
KJ Marshall is the only one that's for sure. Who is the walk-on who got a scholarship?
Oh, but I mean from actual
From
playing
starting
perspective,
production,
like I can't remember the last time we've ever only had one person leaving. I mean, even with the success we had last year, it was still we didn't return a whole lot. So it'll be cool.
Yeah, so I guess to end off here, I guess we'll do a little retrospective of the season. Obviously, I think it's been a roller coaster. I think at the outset of the season, a lot of us, or all three of us, really didn't know what to expect. We kind of didn't know what the expectation should be for Capel. I would say that he has far exceeded his expectations in following up last year's run. Things didn't shake out. There were a couple of times where freshmen played like freshmen, and that's going to happen. But I think that he's obviously very secure in his job. He did a wonderful job coaching this year, and to get the team out of the hole they were in January, like we were calling for his job on this show, and hand up, stupid, my bad, tap the chest.
Yeah, I mean to take a team that started out 1-5 in the ACC and get them to the point where their first 4 out on Selection Sunday is pretty remarkable. So yeah, really shout out Coach Capel. Really did a great job making some adjustments. Putting Jalen Lowe in the starting lineup was really the spark that took this team from where they were to where they ended up. And, obviously other adjustments in there, but yeah, he weathered the storm. A lot of people were definitely very upset with how the season started, especially once we got into conference play. So, it was a great year, and definitely secure his job for probably the next 2 years at least, if I had to guess. So,
yeah.
Zach, Kent was actually telling me that Capel's still on the hot seat to him because he's really frustrated with his inbounding plays and stuff like that.
We are actually the worst inbounding team in the country. I've been saying this, I think, since last year. We have the worst time trying to inbound the ball. I think it was even a worse situation last year, but Friday.
The one play in the North Carolina game where we didn't really run like a set play. They just kind of tried to throw it up to Jorge, and then Baycott picked it off, ran down the court, stole and dunked it. Like, I think that was a pretty big momentum shift in the game.
That was the momentum shift.
So, yeah. Coach Capel, if you're listening.
If you're listening, you're not actually on Kent's hot seat, but we would love something a little bit more creative. Getting the ball.
My biggest challenge to you this offseason, besides finding a 5-star big man, is drawing up some new inbounds plays.
Dude, we've been running that same play since last year, where it's get it to our big guy who's always slightly less big and physical than the other team's big guy. It always leads to disaster at the worst times. The thing I keep thinking about is the one play, and everyone should know this one, the one where Nelly inbounded it to Nike last year for the fucking 80-foot dunk over a guy. Where's more of that? I need more of that, Jeff.
Gotta find
Zach Austin. Zach Austin can get up there.
That's true. Zach Austin.
He can fucking hoop, man.
I would like to see Zach Austin come back and take a step forward next year as well. I think he has the ability to, he just has the natural freak athleticism to be a very, very good player in the ACC if he can just improve his game and come in with some more confidence, I think, going into the season next year.
I also think that he was a bit of an unsung hero. He was oftentimes guarding the other team's best player and kind of, I think, just really leaned into that role as opposed to what we saw him at High Point. He was very like more of an offensive player, I should say. But yeah, I agree with you, Ken. To get him back and maybe like, okay, now he's got the defensive stuff down at this level. Let's take a step forward back on the offensive and become that player we know you can be. I think that would be huge.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of defensive, his blocks all year, like Guillermo had that run in the tournament last year where he had some just crazy blocks. Zach Austin just one-upped him this final stretch of the year, just getting like Zach Austin can play volleyball. That's what I'll say.
Yeah. Super fun to watch defensively. Work on that 3-point shot, Zach. Get that a little bit more consistent, and throw down some more posters next year.
We need him running like the pick and roll plays they do with like Fede and Jorge.
Yeah.
We need him going up for those dunks because I feel like I always pick on Fede, but he's got a lot better ball handling skills than Fede. I'll just say that much.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think Zach, your grandmother probably has better ball handling skills than Fede, but
My grandmother has dementia. Sorry. Sorry, Grandma.
It's
So
all right.
rude of me. We got anything else?
shout out Aaron Donald.
Oh yeah, yep.
Shout out Aaron Donald.
Great career, great pit man, Hall of Famer, and yeah, we hope to see more around Pittsburgh, Aaron.
Yeah, maybe on the Pitt sideline as our defensive line coach because might
Tim
not be
Downs.
like the easiest to come in and just like coach on a college roster, but I guarantee you Aaron Donald could recruit the hell out of some of those Whippeal guys. So
I'll put it this way. I'm sure Tim Doust is a fine coach. If Aaron Donald walks up to you and says, I want to be your D-line coach, you fire him tomorrow and hire Aaron Donald.
yeah. Something tells me though he's gonna take some time and
Yeah,
he was just the best player in the NFL for the past 10 years. I think he's gonna take some time to sniff the flowers. Yeah.
Yes. Shout out Harry. What do they say on not PTI? Happy Trails. I forget what show that is, but it's
yeah, I think it is PTI.
It is PTI. I'm confusing that.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was a crazy day
Anyway.
for Pitt news because Aaron Donald retired, and then about an hour later, Kenny Pickett got traded. So,
I'm just happy he's out of Pittsburgh, man. Like the media hated him.
yeah,
It's very clear that there's some bias to the other rival schools to Pitt, and they didn't like it from the jump. And I'm just glad that he's out.
yeah,
And
it kind of felt like a toxic situation for him at this point. So, fresh start's probably best for him. So back to QB.
It is just a shame we never got to see him in an offense other than Matt Canada's because I never really think he got a fair shot.
He had one game without Matt Canada, and he had his best game as a Steeler, and they got him. So
I guess you're right. We did get. I guess I should say one full season.
Yeah,
or like
yeah.
You knew what I meant. Yeah,
they did. I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I think he was kind of set up to fail with Canada running that offense. But.
Even beyond Canada, the Steelers did not do much of anything to really build around Kenny. That O-line was terrible for every single game he played. The offense is terrible. I mean, the Steelers, I don't know. With that O-line, I don't know if 35-year-old Russell Wilson's really going to do much better.
My thoughts, Jack.
Yeah,
my thoughts.
So we'll see. But
dude, his shtick is good. The first time he has a bad game, or like once they're like 4-5, Oh my God, the media is going to be tweeting some nasty things about danger witches. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, yeah. It would be very, very funny if it was not Kenny Pickett, not Mason Rudolph, not Duck Hodges, but Russell Wilson to be the quarterback to make Mike Tomlin go under 500.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. That'd be pretty fucking good. All right. That's going to do it for us this week. Thank you for tuning in. If you like the show, follow us on your podcast app of choice and follow us on Twitter. We've got some pretty big things in the works. Obviously, it's the off season now. Shows are probably going to be coming out less often, but we're hoping to have some pretty big shows for you coming up. And then obviously, sooner than you expected, it'll be conference preview season. I'm currently working on previewing all the teams in the ACC and all the teams Pitt plays. With that, see you next time.
Hail to Pitt.
See you in football season.